Hello everyone, hope you are having a fantastic day. I decided to make a video about how to use Wine. It's a piece of software that allows you to run Windows applications on Linux and have it integrated with your desktop, with your Linux system. So the reason I'm making this video is because I think the information to get your applications, your Windows applications running perfectly or running very well on Linux with Wine, that information is spread around either, on the developer documentation or forum posts and Reddit posts and all that. It would be great if all of that information was in one place and in video format. So that's what I'm doing. But why would you want to run Windows programs on Linux? I mean, we have our programs, our free and open source programs, and occasionally we have proprietary software come on Linux. So why would we want to run Windows programs? Well, the vast majority of programs are for Windows. That's just a fact. Even looking at the big professional kind of software suites like the Adobe suite, video editors like Sony Vegas, DAWs like FL Studio and Ableton Live and all those, they're all for Windows, primarily for Windows. Some of them have Mac versions, but they definitely don't have Linux versions. But it's not just big proprietary software programs. There's also free and open source programs, which are Windows only. One of which is something like Notepad++, or FamiTracker, or really any free and open source Windows program. So it would be great if we could run it on our system without a virtual machine or even another computer entirely. And so that's where Wine comes in. In technical terms, it is a compatibility layer to translate Windows API calls, the Windows API, into what Linux can understand. And if you didn't understand it, that's fine. It's not really important. All it does, it just means it does the thing that Windows does for applications. And another reason you might be interested in Wine is because of gaming. Because again, just like with normal software, games are primarily for Windows. In fact, they are almost all for Windows. Some of them have a Mac port. Actually, very few games have a Mac port and some have Linux ports. But they're mostly for Windows. If you've ever used Steam, most likely you have. And if you had to play a game that is not native to Linux, it was running through Proton, which is a modified version of Wine, which is optimized for getting better performance in games, more optimized towards gaming. And another reason why, and this is a personal reason for me, is that it allows me to learn about the internals of Windows, because Wine does such a great job of looking like Windows to applications most of the time. There are some shortcomings, which you will very quickly learn about, but some applications run well and some applications run terribly, and that's just how it is. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to run a simple Windows program on Linux using Wine, how to install one. So the program if you've chosen is Notepad++, I talked about it before. It's a text editor that if you are a developer or have been into programming, you've certainly heard of it. And I would like to show you how to install this program in Wine. So I have my terminal open. I've already installed the exe, the installer, so I could get started with actually running it in Wine. So I'm going to go into the downloads folder, run ls to show you what's in it, and there is our installer. So in order to run it, we need to write Wine first and then the name of the file. I use tab completion to complete the entire name of the file because I don't want to run it. I don't want to type it all, but I'll show it again. So I press N, tab, and then press enter to run it. And so you can see that it is initializing. So what it's doing right now is initializing the Wine prefix. Now I'm going to talk about that more in detail, but basically it's just setting up the environment so we can run our program. So the installer pops up, which is a good sign. I'm going to press OK to continue. And if you've ever used Windows, you've certainly done this a million times. So press next, 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 next. Now I'm going to create a shortcut on desktop. And that'll be important soon because I'm going to show you that it actually does install. And in fact, is integrated with our desktop. So I'm going to press install. And as you can see, it's now on our desktop. So this application is now integrated with our own Linux system. And so that's one of the great things about Wine. It's not just an isolated environment like a virtual machine. It's actually connected to your own system. Now that can be a bad time. That could be a bad thing because say you install a virus and you run a malicious program or something like that. Well, it also has access to your personal files on your Linux system. And so you have to be wary about these things. You can't, Wine is not a virtual machine. It's not containerized or anything like that. So it's not going to protect you if you run a malicious program. So anyway, the installer is done. I'm going to hit finish and it's going to open the application. And so here we go. We have Notepad++ running on Wine and it looks almost the same as it does on Windows. And that's kind of the point of Wine. It's supposed to just work. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of work to actually get applications running. And so that's what I'll be talking in my future videos. But anyway, I hope that it cleared up a little bit about Wine. And I hope you learned something in this video. All right. So that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.